So Donald Trump made $58 billion in a week, making him one of the richest people in the world, richer than Vladimir Putin. And it was all through a meme coin, considered a joke in the crypto industry. Some even consider meme coins to be borderline predatory and just plain gambling, because the only people who seem to win are the ones who put money in very quick and take it out just as quickly, and basically everyone else loses, except for the House. But what if the House is the president of the United States? Well, then certainly meme coins should have more value and staying power. But who's actually buying these coins? Are they the same people who buy Trump Bibles, Trump vodka, and those overpriced $100,000 Trump watches? Or are they crypto bros? Or are they foreign actors from like China, Iran, Russia, some of our biggest adversaries who want to line the wallet of our president, who want to have influence over him through this meme coin? After all, these transactions are completely hidden, and it's reported that the biggest transactions are coming from first-time buyers overseas. We'll get more into that in the show. Is this just the new reality? Crypto has been legitimized thanks to our president, and even its shadier components like the meme coin have been legitimized as well. Is it here to stay? And if so, how is the government going to regulate it under the Trump administration like it regulates other banks? So to get down to the bottom of it, I have two crypto experts on my show. Natalie Brunell, host of the Coin Stories podcast, a Bitcoin advocate, and MTF.TV's Kevin Cirilli, a former chief Washington correspondent for Bloomberg News. Guys, thanks so much for joining the show. I'm really lucky to have you on because I really don't know a ton about Bitcoin and crypto, but obviously I'm following all the latest, especially as a political reporter, since our president is now fully involved in the industry and movement, you could say. But Kevin, I wanted to start with you on some of the latest breaking news. Congressman Ro Kanna was on Bill Maher this past weekend, and he said that they had tracked the transactions to Trump's meme coin, and that the biggest transactions came from overseas. Many of them were foreign new wallets with no other crypto assets. They weren't your typical crypto bros, you could say. And it looked like they were only giving money to Trump, and because you can't really trace the transactions, like who they belong to, Ro Kanna compared it to a Swiss bank account because it's all done in secret. You don't know who's depositing it. What do you make of this? Like, is this an open door to backdoor bribes to the president?
Well, Democrats are saying that that's exactly what's happening, but Republicans would push back on that. Look, I think anytime...
What would Republicans say when they're pushing back on it? Just curious.
That this is an opportunity for the United States to maintain its posturing as a dominant digital currency in the global marketplace, and that bad actors like China and Russia, or the Communist Party of China, would fill the vacuum. But I think we got to take a step back here. And first of all, thank you for having me, my friend, and congrats on your success.
You too.
And thrilled to be on with Natalie as well. When we talk about crypto, the word transparency often gets thrown around a lot. Supporters of cryptocurrencies and digital currencies, they're like, this is exactly why we need this type of thinking in the financial markets, because Wall Street and the dollar and all these other traditional currencies, or gold for that matter, there hasn't been really an ability for there to be more equality in terms of who has access to it. On the flip side of that, now you have critics of digital currencies saying, well, this is not transparent enough, and that it's too risky, and that there's not enough transparency. So both sides are hijacking that term, but this is a battle royale where Democrats in the new Congress are going to specifically target this. But I have to tell you something, and I'm sure Natalie remembers this. I remember covering back in 2014 some of the early hearings on Bitcoin, on cryptocurrency, on whether or not the Federal Reserve was going to take a more aggressive posturing in this sector. And the Congressional Black Caucus was working across the aisle with more rural Republicans because they saw digital currency, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, they saw this as an opportunity for more access to capital for underserved communities. So I'm not sure that all of the Democrats are on the same page here in terms of specifically going after this industry.
And do they still feel that way? Do they they think that there's more opportunity? It's interesting because you're right. I mean, this is the first time that you're seeing a subcommittee in the Senate Financial Committee on cryptocurrency, on Bitcoin, it's and digital currency. That's like unprecedented, right? But others say, it can be predatory towards these same groups of people.
Well, people say that on Wall Street too, with all due respect.
It's fair. But let's bring it back to Trump. Like, how does it open the door to backdoor bribes? Because that's exactly what Ro Kanna is trying to say.
I think that you're seeing Congressman Kanna have a real clear line of attack, and you're seeing some of the letters that are circulating on Capitol Hill as well. But in the flip side of that, the Republicans are going to come back and they're going to say, well, wait a minute. If Trump doesn't lead the way on crypto, Xi Jinping will. I think if you look at the center-left movement, they're absolutely livid that they didn't think of getting in the way that the Republicans have. If you look at what this new innovation has been able to do for investors under 40 in particular, I mean, they've been able to do what Wall Street hasn't been able to do in like decades. They've been able to do it in a couple of years.
Yeah, I do remember talking to some Treasury officials during Trump's first term, and they were like, we don't know much about crypto. We don't know how to regulate it. They didn't want to go anywhere near it, really. But the president obviously has a stake in this game. He created a Trump meme coin that was worth $56 billion overnight. Natalie, he announced it on Friday, right before the inauguration, while you were at the crypto ball where Snoop Dogg was performing. Did you notice a mood change at the party when Trump made this announcement that he'd come out with his own meme coin?
No, I have to be honest with you. I didn't even hear about it until later. It was a very exciting evening. A lot of Bitcoiners are feeling a lot of positive momentum that finally Bitcoin will be recognized and legitimized by the highest office in the country. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of us were really disappointed when we heard news about the Trump meme coin. I'm a passionate advocate for Bitcoin and not crypto at large, because Bitcoin addresses the biggest problems that I think we face economically, whereas crypto is largely a space of digital equities or digital securities. And this is precisely why we need more of a regulatory framework, which I think we'll finally get in this administration, to sort of clarify what makes a digital security, what makes a digital commodity, what makes a digital currency like a stable coin. And so that investors have more of that transparency that Kevin was talking about, so they know what they're investing in. Now, were the MELANIA and Trump meme coins transparent in who owned them, who owned the meme coins? I mean, I would argue kind of yes. On the website, you could see that the majority were owned by insiders, and the public was offered only about 20%.
Yeah, 80% of it, 80% of the tokens are owned by Trump org, and he collects fees on the sales.
Exactly. So that was published right there on the front page, that pie of ownership. So I think that's on the investor also to do their homework and to know how much risk they're taking on potentially by investing in one of these coins. But I think anyone would have expected that this might have turned into a little bit of a bubble. A year or two ago, Trump released an NFT. There was kind of something similar. But at the end of the day, I want people to kind of hone in on the fact that these types of cryptocurrencies and projects, they have an issuer. They have counterparty risk. You are trusting a group of people, and they could print as much of this as they want to, and they can give it to themselves. And that's my great concern, because that's what makes Bitcoin different. No one can print it. It has a finite, scarce supply cap of 21 million coins. There's no one in control of it. It is truly decentralized. It's backed by energy. And so it makes it very different, and it addresses the problems that we have with our money. Whereas things like the Trump meme coin, they kind of replicate the issues that we have in our current financial system. So I'm disappointed, but I'm cautiously optimistic that maybe he's just gotten bad advice and that he'll turn around.
Yeah, I mean, the meme coin has already lost a lot of value. It was $56 billion overnight. I'm not really sure where it is right now. Maybe you guys know. But maybe you can explain to our listeners, Natalie, the difference between a Bitcoin and a meme, because a meme coin is like a joke kind of a coin, right? Is Trump just trolling the crypto industry by creating his own meme coin?
I mean, I don't know what his intentions are, and you got to look at outcomes, not intentions. That's what I'm a big believer in. But it goes back to whether there's an issuer. If there's a group of people, or even one single person, that can literally punch in code and create out of thin air a certain amount of tokens that they then sell to the public, I would argue that that is a security. There is an intention or a motive of profit, and there needs to be certain disclosures that are made. That's why we have securities laws in place. And so I really want people to do their homework, because crypto at large, again, full of different companies and projects, I don't know what their intentions are. I don't know what their plans are, and I don't know what a lot of these protocols are about. Bitcoin is very, very different and addresses the fundamental issues we have with money and can serve as the base layer for global money. And I think that the United States will have it in its reserves because it's an institutional or sovereign nation state grade asset.
Do we have to take meme coin more seriously because it's connected to the president of the United States? Or at least this meme more seriously?
Yes.
I certainly hope not. I certainly hope not.
We'll take it seriously in terms of talking about it. Like, we got a transparency's sake.
But does it add value to the idea of meme coin?
Him talking about
Yeah,
it definitely
like
makes it more relevant.
Like if I bought a meme coin, it might be worth more than it was last week or before the inauguration.
But you're just gambling.
Yeah, you're gambling.
It does, make me cautious about what the future will look like in terms of the regulatory front, because there have to be certain rules of the road in place. Because yes, anyone can issue one of these tokens. So what does that mean, and what are the risks? We need a regulatory framework to better understand what makes a digital security, what disclosures are needed, what do investors actually need to know so that they can properly invest without losing their entire life savings. So I think that this is just weeding into a lot of gray areas. And the fact that the president is doing this before we have that clarity, that's what disappoints a lot of us. And I wish he just focused on Bitcoin.
Do you think it will have any financial damage on everyday Americans?
Well, I think it already has. I mean, Dave Portnoy, the CEO of Barstool Sports, revealed that he lost like $200,000 trading MELANIA coin. I mean, some people they don't learn their lessons while trading these altcoins. It's just like going to a casino. I urge people to be really, really careful. You got to do your homework, and you have to read those disclosures. If there's a pie chart sitting right there saying 80% of this is owned by this family, maybe you don't want to be part of the 20% that actually invest, or you're going to have to time it really well. Once it starts to go up, don't get greedy. Take it out and put it into something safer.
Kevin, do you think that Trump has a vision for crypto?
The new Trump administration has been very clear that they want the U.S. to be dominant in this space. And I think that that's why there's a lot of optimism in the industry, even if we pull out of the meme coin versus Bitcoin and all of that stuff. But I think that there's a lot of optimism, according to the folks that I'm speaking with, that this will usher in a new era of the U.S. being dominant. I think everyone's talking about inflation and what the Fed's going to do with the rate hikes and all of that, but I think the Federal Reserve, weirdly enough, could actually end up being one thing that could, they've got a say in this too. So I think it's here to stay. I think that Trump's orbit has really made this, a complete 180 of policy from the Biden administration. And I think it's forcing Democrats to have to really figure out what's their position going to be in the next decade or so.
Natalie, do you think that crypto could help reduce the national debt? Will it help the U.S. economy?
1,000% Bitcoin would help us. We need something like Bitcoin. Most importantly, I think the individual and the companies that are here in America, they should embrace it, because anyone who adopts Bitcoin is economically empowered, and it saves you from the biggest problem that I think we face, which is currency debasement and the manipulation of our money. So absolutely. And when you look at our country, we desperately need something like this. We need a return to a money that's backed by something and not just printed out of thin air. And we've seen the wealth concentration that results from a system that is so manipulated, where we have to keep going further and further into debt. Right now, Bitcoin is tiny. It represents a $2 trillion market cap. Our unfunded liabilities right now are $200 trillion. And we are right now running such high fiscal deficits, ones that we haven't seen since the last time we were actually in a recession. We're not even in a recession, and we're running these crazy deficits. We have to do something to address our spending and our debt. So having a strong asset on our balance sheet like Bitcoin, which appreciates over time compared to these fiat currencies that are constantly debased, yes, absolutely. I think that we should 100% embrace it. But for me, it's more important that the individual embraces Bitcoin so that they can stop stressing so much over how expensive everything around them is getting. Because in the Bitcoin world, everything's actually getting cheaper. That's one of the big reasons why I do what I do. I want to advocate for this because I think it's the single most empowering tool for the individual, not just here in America, but around the world. And I would love to see our country make smarter decisions when it comes to our financial well-being. We used to be an economic powerhouse, and now we're the world's largest debtor nation. And that greatly concerns me because it has largely affected my generation, millennials, Gen Z. It's why none of us can afford a house. It's why all of us are so frustrated and feeling so left behind. We need to level the playing field with something like Bitcoin. And I believe that it can happen.
Natalie, thanks so much for your time. Thanks, Kevin, for joining the show as well. This was fascinating, especially for someone like me who hasn't really been following it that closely. But now that it has made its way into a political realm covering the Trump administration, I certainly want to learn more. So thanks so much for coming on the show.